not especially surprised, but it's raining. It looks like the weather after probably at 9 a.m. today is supposed to clear up. So I was thinking about making a jump and just going to a random town without any accommodation and just staying like outside all night. But I don't want to risk it with the way the weather is, like bouncing all over the place. So I think I'm going to stay here one more night, but once the rain stops in a few hours, it's pretty early right now. Well, I guess it's like 7 a.m. The guys in my room have woke up at 5 a.m. so I've been up since then. But yeah, so I think I'm going to try to go to another little town today just as a day trip and then come back here. I have no idea what's there, it's just not here. So that's kind of what I'm looking for at this point. In wonderful news, Katie sent me a picture yesterday when she was commuting home from work on the Yamanote line, the main line in Tokyo that she takes home. She went to Harajuku Station and a typhoon had come through and had knocked a bunch of trees onto power lines over the train line, so the train was completely shut down. Of course, storms go south to north, so that's headed my way. I don't think it's going to be a typhoon by the time it gets here, but I think it's probably going to give me some rain in a couple days. But anyway, tomorrow I've got another place to go, regardless of weather. No matter what happens, I'm going to go, and then I'll just see how it goes from there. I thought this trip was going to be about a month, and it's going to be longer than that because there's more places I wanted to hit. And I don't want to like have gone all the way to Hokkaido just to sit in the rain. So I'm determined. I'm determined to beat the storms, or at least have a lot of patience. I took my time getting out of there. I mean, what's the rush? I got all day, and it's supposed to be rainy in the morning and better in the afternoon. So figured I would let the rain pass a little bit, but it looks like it still could rain on me. So I brought my umbrella. Don't worry, it's not going to be running for a tunnel again. And I'm going to, oh god, I don't even remember. Where am I going? Abashiri, I think is the name of the city. So I'm going there, and for no reason, just because it's a city that's near here. And I think it's kind of on the coast, and I saw on a map, oh, you know what? The European people I was hanging out with told me about a really good prison museum that was there. Don't know if I'll make it, but it's there. So now you know everything I know about this place. And I'm gonna go there, and my main goal is to just get some lunch in a place that's a different place than where I'm staying. That's all I got for today. I'm on one of those roads where there's not many cars coming by, so this might take a little while. Again, race in the rain. She wasn't having it. I've noticed people that have got like souped up cars, not interested. Like, you know, she had like a what are they called? WRX or whatever, and it was like, you know, had a pipe on it or something. But yeah, souped up car people, not into it. Usually people who smoke cigarettes, not into it. What else have I noticed? I don't know. Alright, well, aliens have officially arrived. Look at that guy. So in the last 10 or 15 minutes I've seen one vehicle, and I'm getting kind of worried because it's seeming kind of scary, stormy, and I have no cover. There's little bridges, I don't know if I can get under them though because there's so much water running underneath them right now. Whoops. I checked the weather, I swear. I checked it and it was like, oh, it's gonna be a little sprinkly and then, you know, it'll be clear. But I don't know, man, like maybe the weather I forecast ain't right. What are you gonna do? So I don't even see a building anywhere around here. Okay, there's some way over there. Go run in hide in somebody's barn or something? I don't know. I think I'll be alright, right? It always works out. Yeah, I think if I had to get underneath one of these bridges, I could. They're every, I don't know, so far. So I think I could get under there. It looks like I could hide. The only thing that'd be worrying is if like there was a lot of rain and there was a flash flood and then I got sucked away into a river or something. That would suck. But I just have to keep an eye on it. I think I got a ride. He drove a long way before he stopped though, so he had to think about it. Like, maybe, I don't know, maybe he looked at the weather and was like, all right, checking on his phone or whatever. No, this guy's gonna die if I don't pick him up. So now I'm running, but at least I'm not running from rain. I'm now in Abashiri, and it took, I don't know, 40 minutes or something, and the rain has definitely picked up, so I'm glad I got that ride when I got that ride. He's like a older dude, older dude, I don't know, he might have been in his 50s, something like that, not really older, but older than me. Anyway, and he was just commuting, and just a cool guy. Something of note though, we drove through this area that I didn't expect. He took kind of a scenic route that I didn't expect him to take. And it takes you on this like island basically that's between the ocean and this lake. And I was like, oh, this looks really nice. And then I looked out the window and there were ponies everywhere. And I was just like, oh God, why didn't I have my camera out? And like, by the time I got the camera out, the ponies were a thing of the past. But there was this like island full of ponies. And I also noticed that the train today is like that, kind of like that little train that I was riding last week or whatever it was when I was in Teshikaga. It's like kind of the same system, I think. And it's canceled today, and I noticed that on the internet today. I was like, I wonder why. And we were driving by, there was this huge landslide that had just like taken over the tracks. Like they were all buried underneath it, and there was this guy out there like taking pictures of it. I guess trying to figure out how the hell they're gonna clean it up. But yeah, that's why the train is canceled. So my only way to get back at this point would be hitchhiking, but again, it's not gonna be a problem. And we checked the weather a few times, and they were talking about the weather on the radio. The weather's supposed to clear up in a few hours, so I think I'll be all right. I'm gonna go get me an onigiri because I'm starving. I didn't have any dinner yesterday. I ate peanuts for dinner. Yesterday I had the realization that the garana was not a Japanese thing, but was in fact like something that was from Brazil and like that area. And so last night I looked it up on Wikipedia, and apparently it's only made in like 5 or 6 countries, and Japan is one of them, and the rest of them are in like Brazil or in South America or in Central America and stuff. So Japan has got a pretty tight connection with Brazil. Oddly enough, there's a lot of Japanese people that live there, and there's a lot of Brazilian people that live here. So I wonder if that's how it drifted over. But either way, I'm glad it did, because this stuff is on point. So man, it's my favorite soda now, I think. I was in the train station for a bit, just avoiding the rain. And there was a television on, and it was showing the weather forecast. That's like everybody's talking about weather right now because of all these storms. And that storm that I mentioned that had affected kyde yesterday and had like knocked down all those train lines and knocked those trees on that train line in Tokyo is actually headed up here now, but it looks like it's going to be hitting the western side of Hokkaido, and I'm on the kind of centralish eastern side now. So I think I'm going to escape that storm, which is a miracle considering my luck so far. So yeah, it's supposed to be all right. It's supposed to be all right here. And Sapporo and stuff is supposed to be getting hit pretty hard today. But yeah, they had like some lady died and like 61 people were injured in the storm. Like it was serious, man. Like this thing that hit Tokyo yesterday in that area. So I'm happy that it is. I'm happy that it's going somewhere besides here. I'm headed over to the jail museum. Real cheerful. But like I said, the European people I met said it was awesome, like really well presented and everything, so I figured I'd check it out. And I routed it with my GPS from the train station, and it said to walk through this big park. So I was like, that looks double good. So we'll hit this big park, and even if the museum is closed for some reason, then, I mean, whatever, big deal, I got to go through the nice park. 10 feet later, I'm like, I don't know if we're gonna go through this park. This road is not a road. This is like a little walking path. I don't know, I don't know. I mean, it vaguely looks like people have walked here recently, or, well, something has walked here recently. Bears, deer, foxes, I saw a fox. I don't know, I don't think I'm supposed to go up here, but there's these like, it looks pretty cool. I came up a little further. I just don't even see where to go. It just gets really thick and it hits this hill. I think we're gonna have to go back and take a different route. It's just too thick and weird. Man, going backwards sort of sucks. And I feel like if kyde was here, like we would have convinced each other, like, oh, just go. And we just would have gone, and eventually we would have made it through. But alone, you don't have that, you don't have that extra person to be like, I think we can do it. And then, once that person's like, no, we can't. The other person's like, no, we can do this. You don't have that pushing thing going on. So I think I gave up easier than I normally would. But it's really wet. It's really steep. And, I was thinking like at the best case scenario, like best case scenario, you make it with no problem, but like it's very possible that I could be slipping on a hill and then just sliding, getting covered with mud, and then trying to catch a ride later covered with mud might be a challenge. So I think I'll just I think I'll just add an extra 10 minutes to my journey and walk the road. This didn't turn out to be so much as a park as it did to be just a hill. And I've had to climb all the way to the top of the hill just to walk back down the hill. And I think on the way back I might take a road that looks like it's longer but flatter. The good news is I found a pretty cool view there's some sheep and these amazing trees. And then in the distance, it looks like something has flooded. Like there looks like there's water where there's not supposed to be water. As you can see, the weather has gotten really nice. I don't know a whole lot about this prison museum, but I know that it is on the grounds of a real operating prison from back in the day. And I guess I'll learn a little bit more about that. And as you come in, there's this bridge, and it says it's called the Mirror Bridge. And this is the same bridge that prisoners used to have to walk across just to get into the prison. And the reason they call it the Mirror Bridge is because the prisoners would often be able to see their reflection in the water below the bridge. And it's supposed to be like reflecting themselves at that moment going into jail and like driving in the crime that they did to them. But I'm not sure, I'm getting the vibe that this has got like a gulag type feel to it. So I'm wondering if there were like political prisoners and stuff sent here as well as like, you know, traditional, normal, like bad people, criminals. So we're going to explore that a little bit and find out. It looks like the grounds are pretty big though, and so far it looks amazingly restored and like it's like beautiful for a prison. So I'm kind of excited about it. It's a bit expensive. It's about 11 bucks to get in. But after the hike I did to get here, I walked up to the thing before I could see the price. I was like, it was $100 a bang. I've tried too hard. So they got me in. As you come in, there's like a information center kind of, and they've got a bunch of like plaques and like a really good section of, you know, the computers and stuff. You can read like what's going on. They've got a lot of English in there that's really well written, and I'm really surprised how well it's all presented. And so it explains that there are a series of prisons that are around the Hokkaido area that the Japanese government used like in the late 1800s to pioneer Hokkaido, because I mean this was really, really remote. It's still fairly remote, but I mean like back in the day, like think about like Alaska or something. Like it's like really the weather, especially in the winter, is really harsh, and there was a lot of forests and stuff. You saw what I tried to walk through earlier. Like imagine, you know, there were no roads. So what they decided to do was use prisoners to pioneer Hokkaido, because they were getting concerned about Russia pushing down out of Russia into Hokkaido, and they're worried about like, you know, Russia trying to take Hokkaido and stuff. So there was some tension there, so they wanted to start establishing you know, a grasp on northern Hokkaido. So I didn't see anything that explained exactly what types of prisoners or who the people were that they sent up here, but it basically said like really bad guys, like hardened criminals and stuff was how it explained it. I do wonder if there might have been some, I mean, you know, back in the day, like legal systems, you know, even now I guess legal systems are pretty jacked. But so the guy that like was in charge and made a lot of these decisions was like, we can ship people up there to do work that normal citizens can't do, and if they die, it just makes having prisoners cheaper because there's less prisoners. So like that was the thought process that they had when they shipped people up here, establish a bunch of prisons, and then the prisoners were a big part of just building the infrastructure up here, like building roads and everything. And apparently they did a lot of the work just building the prison. And the prison turned out to be self-sufficient, completely self-sufficient. And I mean, I guess it had to be, because shipping things here would have been a nightmare back then. And it's like, I guess there's farms and all sorts of things here, and like warehouses and all sorts of stuff. So I'm gonna keep exploring and see if I can find some of that stuff. I saw some of it on the map. I'm kind of excited to see it in person. Oh, inside of that building there was also, of course, a souvenir shop. You can get your like Hello Kitty stuff and like t-shirts for the prison, and like prison cookies. I saw prison cookies. Those are omiyage. So people will come on trips and then they will buy these boxes of little cookies that all taste the same, that are themed with wherever you're at. I mean, usually it's like, you know, a temple or something or whatever. And then here it's prison cookies. You take those back to your friends and you give them to your like coworkers and stuff. Some of the buildings on the grounds are the original buildings. They're still standing as they were. They've done like effort to keep them, you know, functional and like in good condition and so forth. Other buildings are recreations, and they said they've done a really, as much as they could to try to keep the feeling of that building like accurate and true to how it once was. And it said some of the buildings they've actually been relocated, which it wasn't clear on why. Maybe they were just too far away from the central area, or the land that they were on has been used for something else, modern day or something, I'm not sure. But it does really, I'm just shocked at how nice it is. Like, I mean, it's a prison, but I mean, and it's a beautiful day, so maybe my perception is a little bit skewed, but I mean nice in the sense of it's not dilapidated or anything. Like, it's really, really well done, and it kind of feels like it was opened yesterday, which is a little bit creepy. This building behind me is a recreation, a building that the staff would have lived in, not the prisoners, but like the staff themselves. And there were apparently 176 of these buildings on the ground, so that's like a pretty sizable village. It says it's for low-ranking people, and that if like they rose in the ranks, they would get nicer and nicer places to stay. But this is like, your FOB, your first day here. This is the building you got to go into, and this is where you're living for a while. In a prison. Something of note is that they have tiled roofs on these buildings, and that is something I've noticed I haven't seen that in Hokkaido. I didn't realize if that was a modern thing or if it was a thing that's always been, but some of the signs have explained that even back in the day, having a tiled roof was not that common. And the only thing it says, the reason that they did it here, I think the reason they don't normally do it is because of the heavy snowfall, but I don't know if there's another reason behind that. But it said that the reason that they did use tiled roofs on these buildings was because they were able to make them at the prison without that much difficulty compared to like a different style of roof, of which I'm really not sure what other style of roof you would have in Japan in the 1800s. So that might take a little bit of research. As I walk around the corner, I find another style of roof. It's just made of wood, duh. So this is a mobile prison. And it is something that they would use if they needed to take the prisoners off camp and then do some sort of work, like they're building a road or a bridge or something. They would take these things, they would erect them there, the people would live in them while they did their project, and then they would end up coming back to the prison. So somehow these things are built so that you can move them, but that just seems superhuman back in 1800s, doesn't it? While prisoners were on these expeditions, they would only get 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night. And they had to sleep on these mats with like a simple blanket, and then they would like lay their heads on a log, and apparently the prison guards would just bang on the log to wake them up. That would be a bummer, man. This building is a miso and soy sauce warehouse, and they have these huge tubs they would use to store things. And that would help maintain the self-sufficiency of the prison. Again, you couldn't just hit Amazon and like have a packet of miso shipped to you in a couple hours. That's not a thing. Like, the size of this tub is not joking around. I wish Katie was here to hold the camera, but like I'm holding it out as far as I can. I'm standing basically against it, and you can see how much higher it is than my head. That's a tremendous amount of miso and or soy. I'm not sure what goes in that particular bucket, but it's a big bucket, man. So the sign says it could be miso or soy in that bucket. Didn't realize you could, like, in my head, miso is like a paste, Soy is not. So you'd think you'd need different buckets, like, but maybe not. These buildings are part of the agricultural warehouses, and they did, like, apparently at the time it was really modern farming techniques, and the prison was says countrywide famous for like how well they were able to produce vegetables and whatnot from farm yields. And it said that they had prisoners here would work as blacksmiths, and prisoners here would work in the fields, of course, and like really they did like all the hard labor. It's really interesting because without those prisoners being sent up to Hokkaido, maybe the pioneering of Hokkaido wouldn't have happened like as maybe rapidly as it did, or it just would have been in a different way or whatever. It has kind of a vibe in my mind of like Australia, like a bunch of prisoners ended up in Australia and then developed it and then blah, 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 and then now we have Australia. So it seems kind of like a similar situation where a whole bunch of prisoners were sent someplace very remote, and then they were used to develop it, and now they have this like very wonderful place everybody can come live in and explore. It's interesting that they would use advanced farming techniques for prisoners. I wonder why that is, opposed to having been used like and developed for, you know, normal farmers like in the southern parts of Japan. But maybe it was because the farming season is so short here. If they didn't use these techniques, they wouldn't have enough food for winter. This warehouse says specifically that they would put 3,000 daikon on the inside of it and then pickle them in salt and rice bran to keep them good during the winter. They've got a museum here that shows what modern jails look like in Japan now. And that gives you a way to compare like what it was like then and what it is like now. And it made me think, like, I don't have any idea what modern day Japan like prison system is like. I don't know anything about it. I've never seen any information on it. I'm sure somebody on YouTube has got some amazing video about it, but I haven't come across it. I wonder if you can go on any like modern day prison tours in Japan. That would be something to see for sure. 1,100 prisoners were used to construct the central road here in Hokkaido. That's like 228 kilometers. And it says that 211 people died during the construction process. 1,100 and then 200 died. Your odds aren't like that great. It's not good. This presentation here is just talking about like what it was like essentially to be a prisoner. But wait, look at this. It's like this screen cage that you stand inside of, and then all these projections are going on all around you and stuff. I'm not necessarily as impressed with the information it's showing, which is interesting, but just the box that you stand in itself is pretty amazing. It's a really cool idea. They had kind of like this cartoon with sort of goofy music playing that you could watch in there. It was informative, and it was written. The dialogue was written from the perspective of a famous inmate that had come here, and he eventually, I guess his uncle was murdered, and he tried to avenge the murder of his uncle, and he kept escaping from prison. And when he was like 14 years old, and eventually, on the last time he was running away from the police, he stepped on a giant nail and it got wedged in his foot, and he ran 12 kilometers with a nail in his foot. So his nickname was Long Nail. And anyway, so the thing that was weird about it is two things. Well, first off, he said that originally this place was considered a detention house as opposed to a prison. And that's an interesting choice of words, because it's more like a gulag if it looks, that's what it looks like to me, like shipping prisoners off to, you know, build things and everything. But anyway, so detention house might be a little bit of a soft way of explaining it. And he also said that at the end of it, they ended up, his original sentence was longer than his life, but they ended up letting him out when he was like 72 years old. And he went on tour with a freak show in Japan, like, because he was, I guess, somewhat famous, and a prisoner from this area probably had some freak show pull. And the way that they wrote the whole script was like, oh, it was a lovely place at the prison and all this stuff. Really strange mood they created, because something tells me the dudes that got shipped up here weren't smiling about it. These buildings were built for prisoners who were well behaved. They would get to come and live here, and it was supposedly a little more lenient than being in the normal prison area, of which I still haven't seen. I guess later I'll see where the prisoners were kept. I just realized I haven't seen that yet. But yeah, so this is supposedly like, you know, the clubhouse. Seems like in the clubhouse there was a lot of like manufacturing and stuff, work actually being done as well. So I don't think they were just playing golf or nothing. Or wait, what's it called? Park golf. Park golf wasn't going down. These dudes are apparently cleaning their footwear after coming out of working in the fields or whatever before they come back into their living quarters or wherever, their clubhouse. But they've got this basin here, and they would take off their, yeah, I don't know if I call them shoes, but take off the things they put on their feet and they give them a scrub first. That's what the bathhouse area looked like. Apparently once this was decommissioned as a bathhouse, because they built a bigger one, they used this to store vegetables. Hope they gave the bathtubs a scrub first. Of course, food preparation was all done by the inmates as well, which, I mean, you want to be self-sufficient. That's what you're gonna do. I guess, is that how it works now in America? Yeah, jails in America, I think. I've been watching sort of Orange is the New Black, like Katie's had it on, I've been seeing it. Sometimes it looks like they're cooking food. That's probably a pretty accurate depiction, right? I'm slightly surprised to see this in a Japanese old school prison, but they have a prayer hall. And apparently it was originally like a Buddhist style prayer hall, and then after World War II, they converted it into a non-denominational prayer hall. But it said that they would have priests and Buddhist monks and stuff would come and like spend time with the inmates and stuff. I guess that just seems like some humanity being given out in a situation where you shipped people off to the frontier to essentially work until they die. This is apparently the oldest wooden jail structure in Japan. So you can see like what it looked like for the prisoners to be in this particular jail hall. That's amazing. Doors are really, really low. There's actually not a sign here, but I'm guessing this is where the toilets were. I'm just putting two to two together here. I found the main prison house, and it is apparently a European influence design. It's a copy of a prison that was built in Europe, and it's built in an interesting way. It's built in a five, I guess, wings, I guess you would say, come off of a single area. So it looks like a hand. And the reason being is that it becomes much easier to manage this many prisoners with this many prison cells, and everybody has access to natural light and like all those things, and there's only one choke point where people will be entering and leaving the jailhouse, so it makes it easier for security purposes and stuff as well. It says that this was used for 75 years and they didn't decommission it until 1984, and that just seems really, really recently to be decommissioning a wooden jail. Eventually this prison had a population of about 1,000 inmates, which is quite a few people if you gotta keep them clean and everything to keep diseases and problems from spreading. So they actually had built this bathhouse, and then the one I showed earlier, they turned into a food storage area. This was what had replaced it. And it says that the prisoners only had 15 minutes to bathe, and they would come in groups, and the guard would make announcements like, okay, take off your clothes, and then blah, 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 and then, okay, blow a whistle. Everybody then is finished. They have to get into the first bath. They have a couple minutes. He blows a whistle. They move to the next bath, blows a whistle. They get out, they shave, blows a whistle, they get dressed. It's like this big regimented thing. And despite only having it says despite only having 15 minutes to actually bathe and then 15 minutes to get dressed and everything afterwards, it was like everybody's favorite part of the day. But, I mean, how good could it have been? I mean, I guess in comparison, it might have been a pretty good time. This little building behind me made of brick was a solitary confinement building, and it was designed so that light couldn't be let in or out, and it was really quiet in there, so if you were acting a fool, you got locked up in here. Dude, I cannot imagine how horrible that would be. Oh God, the sign says that they would get locked in there for up to a week and only have rice water to eat and drink for the entire time. Yeah, I bet people probably behaved themselves reasonably well. In 1909, they had a huge fire in the prison that destroyed a lot of the buildings, so a lot of stuff was rebuilt after that. And this chapel is the word that they used specifically. I was surprised by that. It was built afterwards by the prisoners, of course, between 1909 and 1912 or something like that. And it says specifically that they put a lot of heart into building this because it was special to the prisoners, personally. It wasn't another solitary confinement place. It was some place that they could go for their own well-being. There's apparently a cafeteria here where you can get meals that are designed in the same way that they were for the prisoners way back in the day, and at least during the summertime, it says. And I would like to do that, except there's two problems. One, there's something in this town I want to try to eat, and given my time frame right now, I've only got time for one meal here, basically. So I don't want to miss out on this other thing. I want to try it. And number two is that the meals that they're serving here right now are mackerel, and it's like my least favorite fish ever. I hate it. It's so bad. But if Katie was here, she would probably be down because it's one of her favorite fish. So it's just an incentive for her to come here sometime. Also, I just don't know if I'm down on paying for prison food. It seems strange, doesn't it? It's a cool experience, though. I really like that they're doing that. I don't know if you can tell I like that or not, but without a doubt, that was one of the coolest museums I've ever been to. I love it when you can go and like actually feel what it was like to be there too, you know, as much as possible, and you can see what the living conditions are like, and it's so relatable to see like that's how their toilet was, that's how they bathed. Like, it's things that are just like super relatable to me as a person without being able, without like, you know, you go to some museums and it's just like so disconnected, like all you see is artifacts and stuff, and it's not really, doesn't give you a lot of quick insight into how it actually was like to be in that particular situation. And this did a really good job of painting that picture really well. So kudos, guys. Like, if you're in the area, you definitely should hit this up. I'm really glad I met those people and they recommended it to me. There is no doubt that the river is really high right now. People with local license plates are pulling over to take pictures of it. And you can tell, like, there's a forest there that's in the water. I'm walking down the road and I saw a sign that said the modern day prison is like where I'm at now, which is about 2 kilometers away from the prison museum. And I'm starting to wonder if where the prison museum is was not where the prison ever was, and it's always been in this location. I'm just putting together some pieces, and they said that when the prisoners went over the bridge, they would see their reflection in this river, and this is the river. And there was no river like in that area. So I wonder if everything has been like moved to that location for the actual museum, and that they just moved things as they were decommissioned from the prison, because that one building was used till 1984. So assumingly there's still a prison here. So maybe they just moved that there, and it would make more sense because up in that hill that I was in doesn't seem like it would be very good for like farming and stuff. And if the prison was going to be self-sufficient, it would make a lot more sense to build it someplace where there was a plain and a river and like all those things. Access to the sea is reasonably close. They could bring things in on the river, like fish. They eat mackerel. I'm putting all these little clues together. I'm like, ah, okay. So maybe that is just the museum area. But regardless, all the buildings and stuff were still really amazing, and it specifically did say that a lot of them were the actual buildings that were used, etc., etc. So I don't feel like it loses all of its authenticity, but I was under the impression the whole time, probably because I missed a plaque somewhere and didn't read it properly or whatever. And but anyway, I was under the impression that that was the actual site, but I'm starting to think maybe not, or maybe part of it was there or something. I'm not really clear. So I was hoping to have this, it's like a deep fried salmon that they put on top of rice here, and it's called zangidon, and it's not something I've ever heard of before. I don't know what zangi means. I've been trying to figure that out, but yeah, the place is closed. It's a weird time. It's like 3:30 or something, and they're closed between 2:30 and 5. So now I'm kind of like, what am I gonna do? I'm not particularly starving to death, so I think I could live, but I don't have anything to do from 3:30 to 5. And then if I do wait till 5, then it's 5 o'clock, and I can eat and then probably get a ride before it gets dark to get back. Probably. This big poster with this flying condom is talking about how nuclear energy is going to be the planet-friendly way to make energy in the 21st century. I'd like to explain I'm not trying to make a political statement about the nuclear power. It's just after Fukushima to see that in Japan nowadays, it's not something you see so often. So I'm surprised they haven't taken Condom Man down yet. Every Japanese town has got to have a naked lady statue, but this one specifically, this is a hell of a party right here. Look at this. This looks like a good time. What's up, girl? I came into the Michinoeki, which is kind of like a tourist center, basically, at this specific location, and they sell the dish that I wanted in their food court. Now, you would usually try to avoid it at a place like this because you kind of get like, you're getting into cafeteria style stuff, and I wanted like a restaurant that like maybe cares a little more. The people that work here don't really care, you know, but maybe like if a chef is like, you know, owns the restaurant, he's gonna put a little bit of heart into it. So that's what I was hoping to have earlier. So I noticed they had it here, and they are also closed until 4:30. So honestly, I don't know. I have to decide. Do I want to wait for this, or do I want to add that extra half an hour and go to the restaurant? It's also cheaper here. So I assumed that the sign that said close at 4:30 meant they were closed until 4:30. But luckily I went downstairs and saw another sign, and it was a little less like indirect. I know it sounds crazy. If you're from America, you're like, well, it says close at 4:30, but a lot of times the word close means closed, and then the time that you see is like until. Like it's just, I just made a jump of, I just jumped to conclusions a little bit when I shouldn't have. But I saw another sign, and it's a little more clear that they open until 4:30. So I'm gonna eat here, and I've been fighting with the ticket vending machine, and I got the staff involved, and they've been opening it up and trying to fix it and all this stuff. And now they're just like, look, we're just gonna make it, and you can pay for it later when this machine works. I'm like, all right, cool. So now I'm just waiting for the food. By the way, the view from my seat isn't to be scoffed at all. Check that out. All right, it came out pretty quick. It looks okay, I guess. I don't know. It looks like there's some serious stuff on top. I'm gonna just jump into some scary stuff first. So it just looks like pickled stuffs. I don't know. It's pickled stuffs. It's like one of those things that's like, I don't find offense. I just like, I don't know what's going on there flavor-wise. But the real reason I did this is because when I rode in the car this morning, this guy, I asked him what the famous food was from here, and he was like, I don't know, really, I'm not sure. And then he was like, oh, wait, salmon, this deep fried salmon stuff. And I was like, okay, I can get down on some salmon. And apparently salmon fishing here is really, really good. So, you know, I figured that gives me a chance to try their local fish. So it's kind of like a, I almost want to say tempura, like it's a lightly deep fried thing. It's not like deep fried like a chicken nugget, you know? You can still see some of the fish like through the breading. So, it's okay. I'm a little worried that time really dictated this. I really wish that I had gotten to eat it at the restaurant because it just tastes kind of what I expected. A little uninspired. Like, they just made the dish, you know? And it's definitely not bad, but it doesn't it doesn't scream like you gotta come eat it, you know? This is not like killing me right here with like I'm not knocked over. I'm gonna be able to like sleep tonight, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's okay. I think it's just an interesting thing that they've taken and like fried the salmon like that. I don't know if I've ever seen salmon prepared quite like that before, in these thin slices and everything. So kind of fun, kind of boring. We got another case of really amazing looking post-storm clouds happening, and way out in the distance in the ocean you can see some rain falling as well. It's really, it's nice to see that way. Alright, it's not even 5 o'clock yet. Just before 5 o'clock probably, not dark yet. I should be able to get a ride, no problem. And back to Shari. And I've got a belly full of food, which means I don't have to eat nothing there, because I just can't find anything interesting to eat there. So even though dinner wasn't that interesting in flavor, at least it was interesting in concept. Man, let me tell you something about some beautiful weather. I don't want to walk the 40 kilometers back to town, but if I had to, I couldn't pick a better temperature. I found another alien. Right after a few minutes, it took me, I think I walked like 3 kilometers. It was a bit far, but that's okay. It was really nice out. Picked up a ride with a really nice guy, and he's on his way to go camping and meet some friends in another town that I don't think I'm going to be going to. But during the ride, which was probably, I don't know, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, something like that, I always ask people like, oh, where's your hometown or whatever, like, are you from this area? And he used the word to refer to himself as Do-sanko, and I'd never heard this before. So I was like, Do-sanko, I don't know what that means. So I punched it into my dictionary, and Do-sanko means like a horse that's native to Hokkaido. And I was like, wait a second, wait, what? And the dual meaning is like people that are from Hokkaido can sometimes self-refer to themselves as Do-sanko, like I am that. So it's like, it can mean a person too, but it also means this horse. And that horse happens to be the horse that I saw this morning. It's kind of like, I'll get to this. It's kind of like a fat pony, like it's kind of like stout and plump, and they're really cute. And we were having this conversation right before we were driving by where I saw those ponies this morning. And I mentioned, oh yeah, those ponies are just like right over here in this field. And he was like laughing. He was like, yeah. So he's slowing down like and we're trying to get a look at these ponies. And he's kind of not paying attention. He's swerving into the other lane. And we almost got hit by a car because of these ponies. And it was totally worth it. But I still didn't get a damn picture. So now I'm trying to figure out, I'm going to be going the opposite direction for the next few days, but I'm thinking about cutting back over this way before I head back to Tokyo. And now I'm trying to figure out how I can route my way back to that pony, because I really want a video or a picture of these ponies. They're amazing looking. I don't want any mistakes being made. I'm having a romantic evening with myself here. The weather is too nice to go back to the guest house. Our romantic evening has gotten even more romantic. But no, seriously, look at this. Can't complain about that. Well, that's kind of annoying. What the hell? Some sort of wasp or something? I don't know, I wish it would go away. Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed going to jail with me for a little while there. This was a fun episode to edit. It had a lot of like just cool things from that jail that I got to relearn because it's been so long since I've been there. So I had a good time like going back through that jail for a second time. If you guys want to follow along with more of our videos, of course, you can check us out on Facebook or Twitter. That'll give you like direct notices when we upload new stuff. And we also have a Reddit page that does essentially the same thing. And you can also, of course, subscribe here. And next to the subscribe button, there's a bell, and that'll give you notifications on your smartphone device. And I think maybe you can set it up to send emails or something as well whenever we upload something so that you get a notification right away. So that's just a good way to make sure that you don't miss anything if you're interested in following all of our videos. We also have a Patreon page, and that's how we finance our videos. And if you're interested in helping us out with that, you can check out our Patreon page and maybe help us out there. Or you can just hit the like button on this, and that helps other people discover the video, or commenting, I think, helps as well. So all those things would be really beneficial for us. So it'd be great if you could help us out with that stuff. I had some questions, of course, as always, but I had something, one question isn't really a question from one specific person as much as it is, I want to address a whole bunch of feedback that I get about the Hitchhiking series, and there seems to be some confusion as to, and I understand why, totally, why the series is running so long. And I guess what this part was 15, I think, that I'm making an end card for now. I'm editing 16, so it's confusing. So basically I just wanted to explain like my workflow and why it takes like a long time basically to get this series up. And it basically comes down to that the editing phase is pretty heavy. This video specifically is a good example of one that took me many hours to edit. And it's because that whole sequence that was in the jail area has all of these sections with me explaining things, and then all these overlay shots that have to be put on top of it, so it's all like made like smooth, and like when I'm talking about the thing that you're looking at, it's all lined up. And when I'm starting out with this footage, there's the footage of me explaining things and stuff barely gets cut out at all, unless I like say something wildly inaccurate or it's just redundant in something that's been said. That's the only time I ever remove any of that content. But the shots of me shooting things like a building or something, like I'm talking about the building and you see the outside and then the interior and all that, sometimes that can be a lot of those shots, because while I was shooting I was like, oh, I didn't like the way the motion was on that one, I do it again. So I'm going back through, and like when I'm editing these things, I'm taking these, you know, maybe there's 7 or 8 tries to get that one shot, and I'm finding the best one, going back and forth and watching them over and over, and then cutting it down, then placing it and doing that over and over and over and over. So videos such as this one are really time intensive as far as like the editing phase goes. So like it would be really awesome if I was able to just crank out 2 or 3 of these a week, but like I literally, like without another person editing with me, like I couldn't do it. So it's just like, it's just impossible. And on top of that, I've also got others. I'm trying not to just run only hitchhiking videos, mostly because then you're just going to be seeing me the whole time. And the video, like this channel is Katie and I. So I want to interweave videos that are like, you know, with Katie and like Japan based and things like that. So like, I mean, since we've been airing the Hitchhiking series, there's also been stuff from Seoul that came, and there's also been there was a ward video that we shot, and then there was like, for instance, the video of the Metro Mysteries, the scavenger hunt style video that we did, and then the Borneo series has started. So I try to like stagger things so that it's not just like a tidal wave of this hitchhiking series. So I hope that makes sense. And I mean, it makes it feel like the trip is just going on forever, I think. And that's a downside of it, but it's kind of like, I don't know which would be better, you know? So I personally want to try to just kind of keep, like, some people aren't interested in the hitchhiking series, and some people aren't interested in like the soul stuff, or some people aren't interested in certain things. So I try to like keep it balanced out to just kind of keep everybody happy. So that's kind of why it feels like it's going on and on and on and on and on. And the other part is like, this is straight up a lot of footage. Like I traveled and shot every single day for 5 weeks. So there's just a tremendous amount of it. So, I mean, I'm assuming if you're hearing this, that you probably are enjoying the hitchhiking series because you just watched one of those videos. So I hope that I'm not like being too much of a bummer, like not getting them out as quickly as would be maybe ideal for some people. But do try to keep in mind that there's other people that are watching our series and stuff that want to see other things. So just, you know, juggling all of those like video balls. And that's what I'm trying to do, and keep all of them moving in the right way. I don't mean to like I'm not trying to like complain or anything, and people's feedback is certainly welcome. I'm just trying to give kind of an explanation as to what goes on behind the scenes a bit. And like, of course, on top of the shooting of videos and then the editing videos, all the stuff that goes on that I think people that don't use YouTube quite as intensive as we do don't see how much extra stuff goes on in the background. I like to keep up with comments, and I get a lot of email and a lot of messages on Facebook and a lot of Twitter, and then messages on Reddit, and I get a lot of that stuff is always going on. And then just when I upload a video, of course, while the uploading goes on, I'm not really personally focused on the upload because the internet is just doing it, and I can edit something else or play a video game or something like that while it's happening. But just getting like the description and stuff, and like getting the cards put in, and then linking everything out to all of the social media sites, like that takes a couple of hours just alone, just to like basically deal with that little portion of this project. And that's like a tiny thing, and making thumbnails for it and all that. So it really, when you see people that are like, you know, oh, why doesn't this YouTuber put up videos faster or whatever, it's a lot of like, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that I think people maybe don't quite recognize. But anyway, like I said, I'm not trying to give you a sob story or anything. I'm just trying to explain. So let's see. I got a question from from over on Reddit, actually. A fellow by the name of the Crunchy Captain. He mentions that he says that, what advice would you have for 20-somethings fresh in the workforce for traveling and trying new things, specifically based on the fact that he's young, and I'm assuming Crunchy Captain is he. I'm sorry if I'm mistaken about that. But the Crunchy Captain is mentioning that they are short on time and short on money, and wanted to know if we had any examples of traveling on tight budgets and time constraints. And I think your biggest, like, thinking about that, the biggest problem I think most people really have, especially before they have a family and everything like that, well, even after you have a family, I suppose it could be a problem, but time constraints is really the hardest part. Because if you're, I'm just going to take a jump, I'm not sure where the Crunchy Captain lives, but I'm just going to say if you're, you know, if you're an American or something and you want to take a holiday, it's really difficult to get all that time off from work and stuff. Usually your company only gives you like a week or maybe 2 weeks if you're really lucky. So it can be really difficult to make it all the way to Asia and then make that financially beneficial, like with the cost of the flight and then dealing with the jet lag and then the jet lag when you go back and like all of that. So people often wonder, like, why don't Americans travel? And it's just because, like, it's a long way to go places with a short amount of with a short amount of vacation time. So if you can manage time off, like a lot of time off, a few weeks, and you can get to Southeast Asia or something like that, you can travel cheap. It's really not that expensive. Like once you remove the cost of the flight. So like you can go to Thailand or something, and for like less than $500 a month, you can live pretty good traveling around Thailand, trying lots of food, doing activities, and all of that stuff. So like if you can manage the time, it's not that difficult to finance. It's a little bit different. Like if you come to Japan or something, it's going to be quite a bit more expensive. So, you know, it kind of, you know, depends on like what your goals are and stuff like that. But if you just want to raw get out there and get an adventure, try to find countries that are cheaper to travel in that are also safe. So I'm sure there's probably places in like South America and stuff that are qualify under that. I don't personally have any recommendations. I haven't been there. But if you're in the States, maybe Central America, South America could be a little bit cheaper and a little more economical and time economical as well for you to get to. If you don't have the money to travel internationally at all, I think a lot of people like live in that like, oh, we never go and do that thing unless like somebody comes to visit. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like there's museums in my town, but I don't ever go. But like, you know, as soon as like your cousin or something comes to visit, you're like, oh, we can go to the museum. Go do those things. Like go do them now. Like don't wait for somebody to come visit. Just go do them. Like if you know someplace cool in your area to hike, like go do it. Like you can find little adventures anywhere that are like borderline free to go do. Like they all exist someplace. So I would say just like, you know, try to explore your local area a little bit. Doing activities like geocaching and stuff can be really cool. It can get you out of the house, can get you going places that you never would have gone otherwise. So things like that are really cool. Like think about like when Pokemon Go came out, how many people went out and were like, you know, Pokemon going. Like that type of thing is like a really cool way to get out and like explore. So if you can find other things that are similar to that and use those as like a catalyst to just get out and like explore things and stuff, I think that's probably the best advice I can give. But I don't know. I think I'm at a point, I guess I've been like this for quite a while, like where I would prefer to have free time than loads of money, because I think I can find ways to entertain myself with the free time more than I can with the loads of money, if that makes a whole lot of sense. But, you know, it's all balanced and depends on like what types of things you're into. So that went, that went a little long. I'm only going to do that one question this time. But I forgot last time I did one of these end cards, I forgot to do my media shout out, which I'm starting doing. I'm really enjoying. This morning a friend of mine sent me a video by a band called out of New York called Power Bottom, and they have a new video that just came out called Big Beautiful Day, and I've had that on loop for like a couple of hours, just that one song over and over and over. I really love the energy behind it. I just love the lyrics and stuff are so honest coming from these guys, and the video itself looks to me like kind of like the art style from the third season of The Mighty Boosh. There's a obscure cut if anybody knows what I'm talking about, but I really like the way the video looks and everything and the way it was produced. And again, it's like I'm into noisy like indie punky stuff, so like that's where this one's going to be headed. One day I'll recommend like Beyonce or something. Seriously, I really do quite like Beyonce, but someday I'll give you guys a shout out on something that's a little less abrasive sounding, but that tends to be what I really get into. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video and my explanations of traveling and my editing process, etc., etc. And of course, more things in the future. More hitchhiking will be on the way. And there's more Borneo stuff coming. Hopefully I'll have some videos from kyde in America coming, and Hong Kong, etc., etc., etc. There's a lot going on.